Welcome back to episode 2 of Dudecast. I'm Mitch.
I'm Goog.
I'm Shells.
And I'm Little Harry.
Today we're talking about cancel culture and political correctness, which has been a massively controversial topic over the past several years. I wanted to start with cancel culture and just a generic question for Harry. Do you think cancel culture as a whole is more of a good or a bad thing?
That's a great question. And I think overall it's a bad thing, but if it was done the way it should be done, then it could be a good thing. If people were actually cancelled only for proper reasons, then it would be a great thing. But unfortunately, the world that we live in, that isn't the case. So the way that cancel culture is right now, then no, it's not a good thing.
What do you class as a good thing? Is what you class as a good thing the same as what everyone classes as a good thing? Obviously not.
Well, I think, there is some things that people do that deserve to be cancelled for, like J.K. Rowling being transphobic. I think that's fair enough. And Will Smith assaulting someone is fair enough. You can't just go up and fucking slap someone, you can't do that shit. And there has to be consequences. But at the same time, fucking Jake Lloyd from Star Wars got cancelled because he was a kid and people didn't like his performance. So it's like, there's a huge difference between what's okay and what's not okay. And I think, obviously I can't speak for everyone, but it's obvious to anyone with a brain when it goes too far.
But is cancelling someone the same as just a general repercussion? Like, slapping somebody isn't really cancel for life sort of thing. It's a legal thing to do, but surely you just let the law punish him and then move on, right?
Well,
yeah, I guess so.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I think sometimes there should be more consequences than just the legal stuff, especially if you're representing, someone in a certain way. Like, I can understand why Disney gets rid of certain people who misrepresent their brand, like that girl from The Mandalorian. She said, could be wrong, but I believe she said some pretty bad stuff about Jews.
Yeah.
And there's nothing illegal about that, but Disney chose to get rid of her because she wasn't representing their brand correctly. So is that cancel culture, or is that just a...
Well, that's a business looking after their best interests, and that makes perfect. Like was it the Oscars that Will Smith thing happened at?
Yeah, and so
they banned him for X amount of time. So they kind
10
of
years,
the same.
5 years?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes cancel culture causes big industries to actually make choices. Like with Johnny Depp, he was cancelled online and then he got dropped from Fantastic Beasts and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the other way around, though. Like with, I think, the Man of DeLorean, I butchered that, but going to happen many times throughout this podcast and many podcasts in the future. But I'm pretty sure first they fired her and then she was semi-cancelled. If I remember correctly, she was actually stuck up for quite a bit, but I suppose there's two every cancellation.
Yeah, a lot of people defended her. And a lot of the times when people talk about cancel culture, people aren't actually getting cancelled. Their revenue is being slightly affected. A lot of people who complain about being cancelled, they just move to a different platform and still make money. Maybe not as much as they did before, but the amount of people who've been kicked off, certain platforms have just gone to other platforms, like Donald Trump kicked off Twitter, but now he just has his own truth social media or whatever it's called. So he wasn't really cancelled. He just was banned from a certain place and still making the same comments he was before.
When does cancel culture impeach on freedom of speech? Like, obviously we have freedom of speech in this country and America and all the first world countries.
I actually don't think Australia does have a freedom of speech.
Well, not in our constitution, because we're not America, but you know what I mean. Like, you should be allowed to say what you want to a degree, or is it to a degree, or...
Yeah, well, I just think freedom of speech is not freedom of consequences.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. if you choose to say something, especially if you know it's going to cause someone pain, you can't expect not to be called out for that. Like, I have nothing wrong with, certain comedians making some pretty dark jokes, especially around, topics that don't affect me. But I can understand someone who's personally affected, like, for example, abortion. If someone made a joke about abortion, I could understand them getting upset and not wanting to see that shows. Now, that I don't think that means that the comedian should not be able to do those shows. I just think, that they should know that people have the right to complain.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Greg? You've been very silent.
I was thinking, in terms of that, the comedian thing, if you're someone who goes to a comedy show, and obviously not everyone's going to laugh at everything, but if you're picking certain points to get offended at, you've kind of got the wrong idea of going to a comedy show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, comedians.
I agree.
Comedians should be able to joke about anything, right? Like,
in the right context, of course, anything, I believe, should be okay. But like Shawls was saying before, you wouldn't go to a bunch of war veterans, and joke about war, because it's probably a soft, that's probably not going to land very well.
That's a PTSD moment right there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, like, it's a very, very sensitive thing. For me, I have never been affected by war personally, so you can make those jokes around me. But if you go to
has its time and its place.
If you go to a comedy show, though, if a war veteran goes to a comedy show, even they have to be open to the possibility of there being a joke about war. Yeah. Not really cater for everyone in the audience and their fucking traumas,
Yeah, well, the one thing that I find intriguing is when someone has a clear brand, like Ricky Gervais.
Yep.
He's anti-religion, and he talks about a lot of dark comedy, but he's been doing that for years and years and years and years. So you can't expect to go to his show and not expect those topics to come up. It's like you're going out of your way to be offended at that point. If you're actually paying to go to his show and you're offended by the dark comments that he makes.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Jimmy Carr's the same. A lot of dark comedy, a lot of risky jokes. Like, if you're easily offended on very publicised topics, you probably shouldn't go, because he's probably going to touch on those topics.
I guess another thing with cancel culture is how long should you be cancelled for? I think that's one of the things that we haven't gotten right. As Harry was saying before, I think cancel culture definitely has its place. Like, I definitely think people should have repercussions for their actions, because us as a community kind of decide what we believe is acceptable and what's not. But some people get cancelled for a long time, or for stuff that I probably wouldn't cancel them for. It's just, where's the limit? Once you're cancelled, are you cancelled? Or is there a comeback story? Like, what happens there?
Depends on the cancellation, really, doesn't it? I think most Harry Potter fans completely separate Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling now.
Yeah.
At least I do.
Yeah, a lot of people would do the same with Michael Jackson, even though nothing's...
Hell, I saw...
There you go.
Well, with Michael Jackson, yeah, for sure. I saw a painting of Hitler that I actually really like. It's a pity that he did all the
other stuff.
Yeah,
all the other stuff.
I'm going to get cancelled now.
All the mass murder.
I'm glad I dodged that one.
Oh yeah. Hitler was actually really good painter. If only he didn't do the Holocaust.
Yeah, there you go. Shills did it for me.
Yeah. Well,
cancel him.
Cancel him.
So what you're saying is he should have stuck with art, basically. Should have
Should never have gotten into politics.
Yeah. Well, no one should ever get into politics. That's just a life lesson.
Yeah. Well,
Gook, what do you think about cancel culture? Do you think it's... How about what Mitchell asked me to begin with? Do you think it's too much right now?
Is it more positive or negative?
I'd have to say, overall, I feel like it's more negative. As Harry said before, they're going about it the right way instead of cancelling people for, misdemeanors, stuff that at the end of the day really doesn't mean anything versus actual, problematic statements or actions kind of thing.
We'd all be cancelled.
Yeah.
If we were all famous, everyone in the world will be cancelled because no one has not made a mistake that cancel culture thinks is worthy enough to be cancelled.
100%.
Yeah, so
It's crazy. They'll cancel you over anything.
well,
Rebecca Black got cancelled because she made a fucking song. She was like 15.
which was this? What, Friday?
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, they'll cancel you over anything. They really will.
Well, I do find it interesting. How far can you go back? Like if I did something as a teenager, is that different than if I do it as an adult?
Well, like, should you get cancelled for it 10 years down the line?
Yeah, how far is reasonable to go back?
Yeah,
Does it
like,
depend on surely it depends on the thing. Like,
if they said something
Isn't there a
not
good
politically
example
correct.
with Robert Downey Jr. with this, doing blackface for
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic
Yeah.
Thunder, that's the one. And I remember when cancel culture started to take off, people were like dragging that up and trying to use that against him as well.
Yeah, things that were acceptable back then but aren't acceptable anymore. Should they be punished
Yeah.
for them?
I totally get why that's not acceptable now, but at the same time, in that context, he wasn't doing it to be racist.
No.
He probably doesn't have a racist bone in his body. I think context has to come into play.
It wasn't
That's a whole nother fucking conversation in itself, but...
that the absurdity
he
of
played
it
that
all?
as a character.
Wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it a comment on Hollywood in general that they'd rather hire a white guy to play a black guy than hire a black guy? Wasn't that the whole
Oh,
thing?
really?
Yeah, I
that's
think the
pretty
whole
funny.
thing was like, we're making a point that Hollywood's so bad that they'd rather put a white guy in blackface than
Yeah, wow.
hire a black guy. I think it was actually satire. That's why.
Yeah, well, there you go. As long as it wasn't racist, he didn't deserve to get...
Wait, was
Cancel
RDJ
over
in blackface for that entire movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think there's a scene where he comes off and reveal because he plays an Australian who plays a black guy, an American black guy. So that was the weird thing about
Yeah.
it.
That's a pretty crazy movie.
Yeah, no, it is.
But then there's freaking guy from Night at the Museum who plays like a character with learning disability.
Yeah,
And still.
Simple Jack, isn't it, or something?
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't play that character the whole time, but you know how like he's made a movie in that movie that's Simple Jack.
yeah,
Isn't that just as bad as pretending to be a black person, pretending to be someone with,
yeah. I think so. But
you know?
again, I think that's commentary on the way that Hollywood portrayed disabled people.
I guess just looking back, honestly, that makes me realise. Just looking back, like that probably wouldn't even fly today.
No,
Like someone playing a character in like a drama movie, like they'd probably get away with it. But if it was in a comic movie and they were just playing someone with a learning disability, they'd probably get shat on.
You mean
Yeah.
like Dumb and Dumber as well? Oh.
Yeah, but Dumb and Dumber never actually says that they have like learning disabilities, even though
That's
that,
pretty obvious.
They're just absolute idiots. Like, there's nothing mentally
Yeah.
wrong with them, they're just dumb.
yeah, that is dumb.
what
don't know.
isn't at one point if you're so dumb, is it not a mental disability at some point?
Like, I don't know.
It would have to
There's
be.
there's always the token dumb character in like every single show,
Yeah,
like Neil from In Betweeners.
yeah.
Other example,
Ed
another
from Ed, Ed and
example.
Eddie.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe Patrick from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's heaps more.
That's just an easy way to get a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, very easy.
I mean, everyone laughed at the dumb guy doing dumb stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
God
They
damn it.
always get dumber over time as well.
yeah.
Well, what if someone said something like racist 30, 40 years ago and it's just surfaced, like a video clip of it surfaced or a voice clip? Should they be cancelled?
I guess it depends on the context.
Let's say they've said the N-word, called someone the N-word, in like a rant, in like an angry rant.
So the intent was to hurt.
The intent was to hurt at the time, but that was also 30 years ago, and they haven't done anything like it since.
Have they apologised in that 30 years for
It's
it?
only just come out, let's say.
Only just come out
in this
now.
example. It's just come out.
Was there an immediate apology?
Sure. Yep.
Probably not. I'm thinking if that's 30 years ago.
I think hell no. I don't think they should have to apologise in a perfect world. If you're the same person that you were fucking 30 years ago, then Jesus Christ.
Well, I guess then that's probably my answer to the question. Are they that same person?
Yeah.
Like, even if they're not saying racist things, are they still, like, doing that, like, shadowy racism, you know, where they're, like, not saying the N-word, but they're doing everything to hurt black people? You know what I mean?
Behind the scenes and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Like, not overtly racist, but racist still. For me, would be, have they changed? What have they done to not be that person anymore?
That's
And if
the
they've
thing,
done
people
steps to
don't
not be
really,
that person, then
people
I
don't really care if people change. They just hear it and they're just like, they're cancelled. Let's blackball them. Let's not let them do anything.
Yeah.
In some cases, sure.
Which I think we're all in a bit of agreement is a bit bullshit.
Yeah, well, maybe they should actually. I take that back. Maybe they should just apologise, because apologising
Yeah,
is free.
I'm not that person anymore. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I'm not like that anymore. I know that's the wrong thing to say. I would never say that now.
Yeah, I had a serious
Sorry
and
for who I
continuous
hurt.
lapse
Yeah.
in my judgment.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you don't apologise, it shows that you're still that person, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that you're probably more than likely just going to do it again.
Yeah. Because if you're not sorry for what you said, then, yeah, you're going to say it again.
Yeah.
Like, what stops you?
It's also the flavour of the week, though, isn't it, with cancellations? Like, no one really cares in real life, at least no one that I've met, you know, about these cancellations. Maybe they do for a second, and then next week someone else is cancelled.
Yeah, well, it doesn't stick around enough for there to really be repercussions.
No, because there's so many cancellations.
Well, like
you just roll your eyes now when you see them.
the one that I think of that I found very interesting about this was the Jussie Smollett. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, Jussie Smollett. Is he the actor?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was an actor who was in a famous TV show. I don't recall. The Wire? Maybe The Wire.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah.
And he had was unhappy with his pay, basically. And then what he did is he paid two people to attack him.
Shit.
And he said they were Donald Trump supporters. So initially what everyone came out and said, they said, oh, how dare those people attack Jussie Smollett, whatever his name is. They're racist,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. They deserve repercussions, all of this kind of stuff. And then it came out that all of it was fake.
Yeah,
So-
he staged the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the thing with cancel culture that I have the biggest problem with is the straightaway reaction without any look into the situation at all. People go, I heard that must be true. The inability to filter through bullshit. Like, if you take Johnny Depp, for example, him and Amber had a terrible relationship. I reckon they probably both abused each other. Like, emotionally, I don't know whether physically, but definitely, at least emotionally, they abused each other. But straight away, when that came out, everyone just jumped on anti Johnny Depp. And then when the court case came out, we actually found out what was going on. Everyone was on Johnny Depp's side, so people
Well, she
jumped.
shot on his bed.
Yeah. So, like, if people took the time to look into it and realise that she shat on his bed, like,
All is forgiven because she shit on his bed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just think people
Amber
jump to
Turd, like I
conclusions.
did last episode. I'm going to try and bring her up every episode now.
Oh no.
Well, there was a hashtag, wasn't there? Hashtag Amber Turd.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Like, I think the biggest problem with cancel culture is it does have its place, but too often it's used without having all your ducks in a row, or at
100%.
least a tiny bit of investigation. Because I reckon if you looked into because literally the Justice
Justice
his name,
Smollett,
that guy's name, he, within a week, that whole story came up. Oh, we should protect him. Oh, he's a liar. Within a week, everyone changed their opinions. So if everyone took a minute to time out and figure out what's going on, I'm not saying don't believe him when he says that, because you should believe him, but that should be, you should also investigate why this happened.
He just got sentenced last year to 150 days in jail from it.
He did.
For lying to police. 150 days in jail and $145,000 fine.
Wow.
Damn, that's a pretty penny.
It was on the TV show Empire he was on, and that got cancelled
Empire, not The Wire. Oh, that was close. They were both big shows.
Yeah, I remember that story. That was crazy when it came out.
Yeah. Well, and like where cancel culture is actually, like the Me Too movement was a very big thing for cancel culture, and I think it was a very good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like the amount of shit that was going on in Hollywood that no one either cared to know or didn't know was pretty disgusting.
Turned a blind eye to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
crazy.
in order to keep your career, you had to sleep around. Like, it was almost a requirement.
Yep.
That's pretty messed up.
That is.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I agree.
It is indeed messed up.
I think, yeah. You know what? No, I don't agree.
Cancel him.
Well,
Oh, shit.
a bit of a random question, but do you think cancel culture is going to affect the history to the point where younger generations don't really learn much about our history because of the racist connotations and stuff behind it? Like they're just
I
not going
think
to
it's
teach
all
it.
just going to get redacted.
Yeah, they're just not going to teach it because of how bad a lot of history is.
No, I think the opposite is actually happening.
Okay.
I think what used to happen is we used to go, our first Prime Minister, he did this, this and this, he was such a great guy. Whereas now it's, our first Prime Minister did this, this and this, and he also enslaved Aboriginals, or he also murdered a guy, or like we're not just hearing the great things about people in the past, we're also hearing about the bad things that they did as well. So I think the opposite is happening. We're actually getting more information rather than less.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I just took the example of the first Prime Minister. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
That was just an example.
Allegedly.
Well, I know that the first president in America owned slaves, was a slave owner.
Yeah.
George Washington?
Yeah.
He owned slaves.
It was a different time, wasn't it?
Yeah. But like...
Well, that was like the norm back then.
Yeah, but I still think, like, it's not like I'm cancelling a guy who's been dead for, 300 years or how long?
Some places in America have stopped teaching things about George Washington and other presidents like that, and rename their schools and just don't teach about them because of their history.
Yeah, see, I think that's the wrong way to go. I think it's tell people everything that went on. Don't just turn a blind eye to the shit things that they do, but don't turn a blind eye to the good things that they did as well. Like, I think a lot of the times the biggest mistake that we make is we idolise people to such a degree that they become godlike. Like, celebrities are people too. Members from history are people too. They make mistakes, they're not all good people. Like, there's very few...
Well, that's why they get fucking cancelled. For making a mistake.
Well,
people fucking know they make mistakes. They fucking dwell on it.
Yeah, well, because I think one of the reasons why people are so quick to criticise is because other people elevate them to such a high degree. Like, yeah.
they think the sun shines out their ass, and
Yeah, definitely with a lot of them. Oh, well, are we done with cancel culture? Are we moving on to political correctness, Mitch, or you got anything else?
yeah, we'll move on to political correctness unless someone else has something to say about cancel culture.
I just had a quick thing to say about cancel culture.
Yeah,
Like,
go on.
with celebrities and all that sort of stuff, they don't really get cancelled. They just sort of change jobs. So
Yeah.
they don't really... They lose a little bit of revenue, but not a lot. I think one of the...
Not always.
Yeah, not always. It's very rare for it to happen. Let's put it that way.
I mean, Johnny Depp lost some pretty big jobs.
Yeah, but that's one person. That's one example out of how many celebrities.
Yeah, while I was looking into this before the podcast, came across something that says while the careers of some public figures have been impacted by cancellation, others say that they have been cancelled, but their careers continue as before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
They just
good
get hate
point.
online. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily cancelled.
Yeah, but like, you know,
They view it as cancelled.
when are you not going to get hate online?
Exactly.
Like-
Everyone gets hate online for everything.
But I think the biggest problem I have with cancel culture is when it's just a random person, like an everyday Joe, who gets cancelled and loses their career or
Livelihood.
job
Yeah.
over something stupid that they did. I think
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
I think that's
It depends on what they did.
yeah, of course it does, but that's where I have less a problem with celebrities getting cancelled than I do with the average Joe. Not that they shouldn't receive punishment for doing bad and nasty things, but being dogpiled online and all that sort of stuff as just a random individual.
Oh yeah, it would be a lot.
Yeah,
for
that
the
would
mental
be
health to take
incredibly
on.
devastating
Yeah.
to an individual.
Well,
Yeah,
good
well, they-
It
question.
would not be fun to fucking deal with, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How
When
hard
you're
is-
Especially, you know,
Yeah.
some people get memed the fuck on even not when they're getting cancelled,
Yeah,
which is pretty sad, but that's just the internet.
yeah.
How hard
It's
is it
our
all
worst
on
impulses
mental
on the
health?
internet.
People's mental
What,
health.
Mitch?
People's mental health are copping a big hit with cancel culture.
I'm sure it is.
Like, I would love to know, like, some depression and statistics behind all that since cancel culture became so prevalent for people who are getting
And it's not
cancelled for
always-
things that aren't massive deals. They're relatively big, but not massive deals. Like, obviously, if you're an
Yeah.
arsehole, you're an arsehole, but, like, the smaller stuff, people are just getting hounded online, and their depression must be through the roof, I would imagine.
Well,
Yeah, I think
that's
you're
pretty
getting
safe
bullied
to
by,
say.
like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people online. I mean, yeah, it's not fun.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Political,
Well, I think
Yeah, I
we're
think
good.
we've said what we can. I don't think there's anything else we can say about that.
political correctness. What are your thoughts, fellas? Good, bad, indifferent?
Kirk, you can go first.
I think I'm rather indifferent about political correctness. I suppose a good example for this one is the whole, the pronoun game that's been happening the last few years. The
Yeah.
whole using they and them instead of him, her, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with, referring to a person by the pronouns they would like to be called, but I'm also not going to sit there and defend them when someone else questions them on it, kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, it all just comes down to I don't like hurting people, so
Yeah.
I'll call them what they want to be called. Some people go by nicknames, some people go by he, she, them, or other. Like for God's sake, we called various celebrities different names throughout the years. Why can't we do that with just other people? How many names has Snoop Dogg gone through?
Snoop Lion.
Yeah, but that's different, isn't it? Because that's not what he identifies as. It's just his show name.
But why is that any different? That's what people call him.
Because it's
Because that's not like insinuating that it's something that they're not. Take the whole transphobia thing. A guy has transitioned to becoming a woman, but people are still calling them like dude, he, or man, for instance. That's a bit different to calling, Snoop Dogg one of his 12 names.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying, sorry, I think you're misinterpreting. I would happily call Snoop Dogg whatever he wants to be called. If he wants to be called Snoop Dogg or Doggy Dog or whatever he wants to be called, I'm happy to call him that. My point being is we do this for celebrities all the time. We call them the name that they want to be called. So why can't we do the same for trans people? Why can't we call them her or Jasmine or whatever they want to be called?
Well, yeah, we can, but it's different because we don't really call them by that because they want to be called that. We call them that because we know them by that. I mean, do you guys know? I don't know Snoop Dogg's real name. All I know him as is
His name's Calvin, but no one, yeah.
Yeah, there you go, though. So, like, his became popular through that name, though. Same with most celebrities who have alias names. It's not like we choose to call them that, it's just what we know them as. Like,
yeah, but the point being is I think you should call people what they want to be called. It literally makes no difference. I can understand when someone's recently transitioned and you know them for ages as Jeff and now they're Jasmine. I can understand you slipping up a couple of times and calling them Jeff. But I think you should put in an effort to call them Jasmine because that's what they want to be called.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree with names.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no harm, no foul. If someone wants to be called something that makes them feel comfortable, sure.
The issue comes, like, if I call a girl who wants to be a guy a girl and she blasts me for it when I don't know, that's the issue. Or if I call them a girl, they correct me and then I keep calling them a girl, that's also the issue. Like, there's people that do both, that are quick to jump on the trigger and blast the person calling them by the wrong thing when they didn't know, or are quick to keep calling them by the wrong thing even though they know they want to be identified as the other.
Yeah, so
those two groups of people are the issue.
So I don't think you can blame someone for not knowing or taking a guess on if someone accidentally called me her because I have long hair. I'm not going to get offended. I'll correct them. And if they continue to do it, obviously they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
So that's just being an arsehole at that point.
Yes.
But I do think it's hard to blame someone when they don't know for accidentally calling you the wrong pronoun initially. But on the other hand, I can see why people do come to that because they've probably been around so many dickheads who purposely misgender them that their instinct is to react.
They're just over
negative. Yeah, but it's not really. It's an excuse, but it doesn't mean it should happen. You should do that.
It's not a good reason, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Like, even at my work, like, the bottom of basically all the emails from the higher ups have their preferred pronouns on it now. Like, his, him, whatever else that is on the bottom of basically all their emails. I find it fascinating that everyone's starting to do it.
Yeah, well, I just think it's a change that's not hard to do and it makes people feel good. Like, it's not hard to call someone she, her, they, them, and if it makes that person feel good, I don't see why we shouldn't do that.
That's fine.
Just because we haven't done it for a long time.
I call people by their name. Like, I don't call people she or him. I say that.
And that's a good way to cover your ass. If, just call them by their name and you're not going to get in trouble. It's...
I mean, on an individual basis, that works. But when you have people who are getting offended, say a tour guide, for instance, is meeting up with their group ready to go out on their 5-day hike or whatever it is they're doing, and the first thing the guy does is walk up to the group and say, "Hey guys, how's it all going?" And then people absolutely putting him on blast for using the term guys.
Yeah, for me, guys is gender neutral.
It's a generic term for a group.
Yeah, it's just
that's how I see it as well. But a lot of when I was doing my adventure tourism course, we were constantly told again and again to not use guys because it's offensive.
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
I see guys definitely as gender neutral. I see dudes as gender neutral too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
dude,
If there's any
dudes with
girls-
another one we
If
weren't
there's any
allowed to
girls
use.
listening, this isn't just a podcast for guys. The dude cast is we are four dudes. Well, Gook, you identify as a gargoyle though. What's that been like?
Oh, come on, man. I
Don't
am not
call
a
me man.
gargoyle, boy.
He's not man
Yeah,
or
you just
boy.
assumed me as a man.
Thanks, Cook.
All right, but apart from that joke, though, I think that people should be able to identify as whatever they want, but there has to be a limit to kids doing it. Because someone I work with knows that went to like a party and there was like a 5-year-old guy, a 5-year-old boy, like walking around in a dress, saying he identifies as a girl, and it's like, well, obviously the fucking parents are brainwashing him at that stage.
well, that's
I
actually
don't think 5, you're old enough. You're not old enough.
There has to be an age limit. There
at
has to be an
5
age limit.
to actually properly, your brain is not developed enough to actually properly have that conversation with yourself and actually, decide, oh, okay, this is how I actually feel. I'm not saying that you couldn't feel that way at 5, but I think it's very unlikely
well,
that you come to that conclusion at 5 on your own.
but now I may be misquoting, but I think that's something that we should be left up to scientists and doctors, because I think what tends to happen is when people are born, there's some people who are born with multiple genitalia, and then the doctors just pick one to assign them at birth, and then the person may feel that they're not that gender, and a lot of stuff happens early on where people can feel, rightly so, that they are not the gender that they are, because gender is not sex. Like, it is a different concept. It is something that we made up. Like, sex is a thing, like the male, like X and Y chromosomes, but gender is slightly different. And if that person decided to dress up in a dress and call themselves she, I don't see a problem with that. If that's what they want to do, because it's not like it's irreversible. They're just wearing a dress. Maybe they feel uncomfortable about it when they get older, but it's not like they're doing anything wrong. And with puberty blockers as well that people do, that's something that's easily reversible also. Like, it's not...
They're not doing anything wrong. Of course, they're not doing anything wrong, but the problem is that I have is that if you influence kids in that way, if let's say you have a boy, right, and he, or a girl, that's probably an easier example, and she plays with a truck, and you're just like, oh my god, that's, trucks are generally boys' toys. Oh my god, you know what? You actually might be a boy. Have you ever thought about that? And, put all these ideas in your
Yeah,
head.
her favourite colour is blue. Like, oh, you're a boy.
It's very possible that you could influence their decision making at that young of an age. When if you didn't say anything, she's just playing with the truck. Then she goes back, But if you make a big deal about it,
Yeah, but how many parents really do
you
make a
could
big
put
deal
these
about
ideas in their head.
I think
I'm
there's...
saying parents, some people there has to be a limit to where, that's why I don't think if people should get sex changes too young. I 100% think that people can have gender dysmorphia at very young ages. I'm not saying that's not real. But I also think that, like any major thing that's going to change you, you should...
So you think it should
really
just
wait.
be more regulated?
But I think at the same time, it's not really fair, because if they really feel that way, they probably want to be, in the right body for as long as they possibly can. So
Well,
It's
for
tough.
me,
It's tough.
it's a medical question. Like, I would not feel comfortable about having it regulated, because that could limit experts' opinion, which is what has happened in some states in the US. They've blocked puberty blockers. They've blocked a whole heap of stuff, which is actually treatment for gender dysmorphia. And if you've talked to doctors and the doctor feels like it's the right medication to prescribe, I don't see why it shouldn't be prescribed. Like, it's a medical issue at that point.
It's really hard when you got young people. It's like, yeah, you're right. It has to be a medical, because It's just so hard. I don't know. None of us really know the answers, and the world
and I
doesn't
think
know the answers yet because it's all so new.
Yeah, that's the point.
Well, there is no answer, is there? It's such a complex topic that every case has to be looked at differently.
Case by
There's
case.
no one answer.
Yeah, that's why, like, for people to get a sex change, like, they have to go to their doctor, then they have to be, like, evaluated by a psychiatrist. And then once all these people have ticked off, and the parents, then it can take place. But, like, I think they're reasonable hoops to have to jump through. You know,
100%.
doctor,
100%. It's a big decision to make, especially if you're going to actually go for the full transformation, like I said.
Yeah, but I don't think people.
But if you get to that by yourself, if you get to that, I think if you get there without influence, which unfortunately I think with TikTok and the rise in fake disorders, that's not always the case. But if you're genuinely there with no, outside
influence
person steering you that way, then you should definitely be able to have that option.
It also is a lot of money. Like, it's not.
No, it would not
cheap.
be a cheap thing to do.
So it's not like you do it on the spare of a moment because it's so expensive and it's such a huge change. I don't think it's something that people do just on a whim. You can fake a disorder on TikTok without it costing you anything. But to actually get a sex change or puberty blockers,
Oh yeah, true.
there's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of costs. So I don't think it's on the
that's what
same
I
level.
think. Yeah, you're true. You're right. I think if someone was to actually go through with it, they wouldn't probably be. I hope that they couldn't be fake convinced that that's what they want to do because of influences and then regret it.
Yeah, look. Yeah, I think you'd have to have some sort of mental disorder to have to jump through all those hoops and to do it for fame or someone's approval. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Didn't Bruce Jenner want to reverse it, or Caitlyn Jenner, sorry, want to reverse it at some point and then decided against it? I don't know. I remember reading a story a few years ago.
who, Caitlyn
What,
Jenner?
reverse it?
They
You can't
had the sex
what are you
change and
gonna
then
do?
wanted to reverse the sex change at one point.
What, like fucking Mr. Garrison, like get a fucking new penis?
Yeah, you can reverse
Graft
sex
one
change.
on somehow.
Yeah, on a mouse was what they did.
That is hilarious, I'm sorry. So cut your penis off and then get a new one.
Yeah, he said he regretted
That's smart.
becoming a woman, and then this is all from memory, so don't quote me. But yeah, said he regretted becoming a woman and wanted to change back, and then said, "No, never mind." Essentially,
What? I'll do it. I'll get the sex surgery, and then when I get my penis back, I'll be like, "Could you get me like the next size?" Why not? You know?
Dr. Google has
hilarious.
told me roughly how much a sex change would cost. Take a punt, fellas.
Much.
50.
50,000.
Yeah, that's what my guess is going to be.
Good.
I'll go 70,000. Are we talking US or?
No, I'm
AU?
gonna go for a slightly bigger number. We'll go 140k.
It's Australian.
We're talking about
Australian dollars, yeah. It says between 20 and 100, so we'll go, what's that, 60. So you and Harry are both right, dude. Shells.
Yay.
That was way off, apparently. I was slightly over double.
Well, I'm
Well, I
sure
guess
there are
it
people
depends.
that do go up there when they need more surgeries.
But Kirk's going off gargo surgery.
That's a bit
I
more.
want-
No, you don't want to know how much that costs.
Well, there are people who do like the excessive tattooing
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, the extreme body modifications.
Yeah, those ones.
Alright, well, what do you think about gender bathrooms then? Should a guy be allowed, or should a transgender girl be allowed to use a girl's bathroom?
Yeah,
As in
look, I
they
don't-
were a guy, or now a guy.
Yeah, they transition to a girl.
Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with it, but I think the easiest solution is to just not have gendered bathrooms.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that should make so much sense. But in a world where we do, I think it's okay. I wouldn't care if a girl who transitions to a guy used my bathroom.
No.
But the thing is, there are some people out there who don't believe in gender dysmorphia. And, they might be stupid, whatever, call them whatever you want. But they still have a right to feel the way that they feel. And if they feel uncomfortable with someone that they think is a guy using their bathroom, their feelings still matter.
Yeah, but
And then they're becoming victims. They can't be forced into something that they don't feel comfortable with just because,
yeah, but is a public toilet a human right?
don't think it even matters if it's not a human. It doesn't have to be a human right for someone not to.
But you could choose
That's
not
not the
to.
baseline for every
Yeah.
thing that people can find that they don't agree with.
Yeah, but like, there's a lot of things that we allowed to happen that people don't agree with. Like, a lot of people don't like the fact that abortions happen, and we still let those happen in Australia. I just think just because you're uncomfortable with something, it shouldn't be happening. If you're that uncomfortable, just use your bathroom at home.
Yeah, but you
You're
can't
that
always
worried
use your
about it.
bathroom at home. Like
What?
if you're at a restaurant,
You can't always, no.
if you're at a restaurant, you need to go to the toilet. You're not going to go home. Like,
Yeah, but like, the percentage of people that have transitioned is very, very low, or have gender dysmorphia is only, I don't know, it's in the,
do you
the
reckon?
percentages.
Do you reckon
Like,
it's a you have to have transitioned then you can use that bathroom, or do you
No,
reckon
I
you
don't
can be
think so.
pre-transition? You can still use the bathroom.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, define transition though. You can dress up as a male.
That's not transitioning.
And still identify as a girl. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like have the surgeries to become the other gender.
No, I don't think you have to
Oh,
have it.
okay. No, because there's like you don't have to have the surgery in order to be identified as a girl or boy though.
I'm saying to be able to use the bathroom fairly.
Oh.
Do you think they should have to have the surgery, or do you reckon they should just be able to identify? Because that opens a very slippery slope.
I feel like they should be allowed to if they identify as that gender.
But like, are you saying that people are going to identify as another gender just to be a pervert? Like,
It's happened.
Fuck yeah.
It's happened.
I mean, I could picture that happening a fair bit,
It
yeah.
has happened.
100% that's gonna happen.
That's what I'm
Really?
saying. It's a slippery slope. It has happened.
Shells, what fucking world do you live in, man?
Dude, I think that's
It's incredibly scummy, but it does happen.
yeah, but like if it does happen, it must happen fuck all. Like, surely.
I'm sure the rate of it are relatively low, but it can happen because you've opened the door to being just saying, I identify as this, therefore I can use this. I'm going to go in the women's bathroom and try and look at the change room and like.
It would probably happen in schools, honestly. I can imagine some kids like thinking it's hilarious, just going into the
Some
kids'
bloody
bath.
dumbass college student.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
identify.
just going in there for a laugh with his friends and just saying like, yeah,
Oh, we identify as women, we can be here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah,
could
but
happen.
but yeah, it could happen, but there would just be punishment for doing it because you'd know if they were being real or not.
True,
Especially
but
if it was
change
kids in
rooms
school.
actually, that's a good point. Gook, that's actually because bathrooms and change rooms, that's a whole nother thing for me. I feel because I would feel a hell of a lot more uncomfortable if there was a heap of girls transition to guys in a change room than what I would in a bathroom because you're a lot more
You're butt naked
vulnerable
showing
in a
it.
change
Yeah.
room.
Yeah, but the
You're not
same.
really in your own individual stall.
But that's the same way some people are not comfortable in a change room with other people, period. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to use the change room. It's not a compulsory thing for you to
yeah,
have
true.
to do
It's
it.
not like you're forcing someone.
Yeah, and a lot of people who use the change room, some people just go to the cubicles and get changed in there with the door locked.
True.
Like,
Well, any girl who transitions to a guy, you're not missing out on anything in the guy's fucking change room. I went to the Cordic Centre the other day. There's this naked old guy talking to himself.
There's always naked old guys, mate.
It was a great time. He had to get changed really close to me.
yeah, well, you've got to assert dominance somehow, don't you?
Yeah, so that's true. He did. He said dominance. I was definitely.
Yeah,
Scared,
old
so-
men own the swimming pools and the saunas. So,
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
There's always one old man in every sauna. Just constantly. They take shifts, so there's always one in there.
yeah, it's funny that we spend most of the time talking about, well, I guess, transgender and PC culture and cancel culture sort of go hand in hand a little bit, don't they?
Yeah.
Just because they're the hot
Yeah.
button topics.
Well,
Oh, yeah, sure.
if no one's got anything else to say about political correctness, I've got a little 2 truths and a lie for you guys to try.
Okay.
Yeah, right, I'm keen.
Now, how are we doing this? Are we doing this individually, or are we all gonna answer together?
I'll say the three things, and you each individually say which one you think is the lie.
All right.
Alright, so political advertising in Australia does not need to be factual, is the first one.
Jesus Christ.
The Russian government has ways to monitor online chat An alert is triggered whenever the words Putin and kill are used in the same sentence.
Putin and what?
Putin and kill. That's the second one. The third one, the words idiot, imbecile and moron used to be politically correct terms for intellectually disabled people. And each word corresponds to a specific IQ range.
Okay.
Interesting.
Two of them are
One
true,
of them
one
is
of them's
false.
false.
Well, I think the last one is true.
The idiot, imbecile, and moron one.
Yeah.
I have a really bad feeling that the first one is also true.
You know what? I'm going to go first two true, last one false.
I'll go the first and last. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, let's say the second one is the lie.
The second, the Russian government one.
Yeah.
You guys are correct.
Hey.
Oh,
Damn. I don't trust Russia.
so yeah, political advertising in Australia does not need to be factual, which is insane. And
Yeah, that's actually such a ridiculous thing when you think about it. Like,
So
the
ridiculous.
people that we are trusting to run our country can blatantly lie about the people they're going up against in order to,
That is
win
fuck-
favour
that
and
has to be
votes.
changed. I have to admit though, I had a little bit of a cheat because I've been trying to kill Putin for months now. I have no idea if it's illegal.
You check Harry's Google history, and it's just best way to kill Putin.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, exactly.
you're trying to permanently cancel.
Where is
right?
Putin's summer home?
whereas
Yeah, exactly.
whereas the
I've searched it all.
IQ ones, if you have an IQ between 0 and 25, you're an idiot. 26 to 50, you're an imbecile, and 51 to 70, you're a moron. So they were politically correct terms back in the day. Obviously now
Really?
they
So
are not.
idiot's the worst.
So idiot's the worst. Yeah. So that's when you call someone an idiot. How that's actually offensive back then.
Wow.
Well, so when is back then? When's this from?
All right. 1960s.
When did that change?
1960s.
1960. I'd be interested to see because each generation's average IQ has gone up. So it'd be interesting to see if you do the reverse, theoretically each generation has gotten was at a lower IQ average the further back you go. So there must be some people who were considered very intelligent 300 years ago who probably
Would be.
have a
What would be an imbecile?
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
I actually misread that as well. It changed in the 1960s. So it was
So-
before the 1960s.
that
It
was-
changed to mild retardation, moderate retardation, and severe retardation.
Yeah.
And
So now
profound
we can't even
retardation.
say the word retard.
Yeah, now retard is non-politically correct.
But isn't that funny though? Because words are just words. The only reason we can't say retard anymore now is because it's taken on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
It's like we can't
people
say
it
gay to
to be
mean
mean
happy
to each
anymore.
other. Yeah, exactly. Because people say it to be mean to each other, but if you gave someone with a learning disability a new name, like I don't know, Karemia.
What?
Yeah.
Karemia, right? It's nothing right now. You say, "Oh yeah, you got Karemia," but if people started using that in a mean way after like a few years, then that word would probably be banned as well because it would have something really negative associated.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, how long until all current swear words are completely banned? Like, YouTube has made it so you can't say cunt anymore.
Oh shit!
So
that's because
all-
that's an American thing. It's very offensive in America.
yeah, but how long is it going to be until the rest of them, bitch, fuck, bastard, we can't say any of it for fear of the whole cancel culture reaching back around and biting us?
To be fair, Gook, if you go back to the 50s and 60s, they were kind of already cancelled, and then they've become uncancelled. Like using swear
Yeah, so
words.
how long do you reckon it'll be until we re-loop back around to cancelling it?
Re-back cancel swear words. I don't
History is doomed to repeat itself, right?
know. Yeah. Well, I think for me
don't see it
that's
being cancelled.
yeah. That's why intent matters more than the word for me. Like, if words keep evolving all the time, but if you're unaware of the offence that you're making, you should be told that and change, but you shouldn't be held accountable if you don't know. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
It's more the intent. If you're trying to hurt someone, then that matters more than what you're actually saying.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
Anyway, that's me done.
Is that everything? Do we have any final thoughts on either of the topics?
No, I guess.
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything so far.
Nothing from you, Harry?
Nope.
No. I guess that concludes the...
Little Harry.
Sorry, Little Harry.
That's what I want to be called. Little Harry, that's what I want to be called.
Identify as Little, okay.
Oh dear.
That concludes today's episode. Next will be controlled by Shirley. So what topic are we going to be talking about, Shirls?
So the topic I've decided for our next podcast would be religion and spirituality, and its place in society.
Oh, religion and spirituality and its place in society.
Okay, wow, we're going to have another...
I feel like we're going to have a lot to
Semi-
say about that one.
Another semi-serious episode.
Lovely. So that'll be 2 weeks from today when this is uploaded. So
Yeah. Alright, well that sounds fun.
awesome. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.
See yous.